وللمزيد ينضم إلي في الاستوديو السيد داغ بيتكن رئيس قسم الاستثمار في أدوات الدخل الثابت في شركة رأسمال للاستثمار. سيد داغ، أهلا بك. كيف تؤثر عملية إعادة الهيكلة على قدرة الحكومة هنا على موازنة استحقاقاتها بعيدة الأمد؟
Well, I think it's very, very positive for the Dubai government. They've got a lot of high-quality assets on their balance sheet, but they are not inclined to sell these assets. A lot of these government-related entities are there to affect government policy, and by terming out their liabilities, it gives them a chance to sell less strategic assets, and these assets then don't have to be sold at a fire sale price. So I think in the medium term, it gives the government some breathing space. They have had one restructuring previously, and that was in 2011, and now this debt is falling due. So there's a sort of a carrot and a stick approach here, where they're offering to repay some of the debt a little bit early, and then term out some of the other debt and offer some other incentives related to that, in terms of some additional security and a higher yield on that termed out debt.
هل ترى بأن عملية إعادة الجدولة سيكون لها تأثير على بيانات المصارف المحلية؟
Well, local banks have accounted for this debt differently on their balance sheets. Back in 2010, some banks hadn't provided for this exposure. Other banks had provided for this exposure. And the regulator, the UAE Central Bank, left banks to agree with their auditors the way this exposure should be treated, in terms of the amount of provisions that they apply to this exposure, and whether this exposure is treated as non-performing or performing. Now, subsequent to the restructuring, some banks have classified this as performing exposure, and other banks have continued to classify this as non-performing exposure, and they're still applying a provision against this. And I think Emirates MBD is the one bank which stands out as still holding this as a non-performing asset. It's a fairly conservative approach. I think if you look at the non-performing assets are around about 12.6%, and if you exclude the Dubai World exposure, their non-performing assets comes down to around about 9.5%. And they're also applying a provision against this still. So this, looking forward, as soon as they reverse this, or if they reduce the provision, you would see this have an impact on that quarter's earnings.
هل تمت عملية اختبار المرسوم 57 المعمول به هنا كأداة بما يكفي لضمان عملية إعادة جدولة وهيكلة سلسة؟
No, I think it is fairly untested. We have had Dry Docks World, they implemented Decree 57, but the underlying basis of Decree 57 is based on Chapter 11 US Bankruptcy Code, and also UK insolvency procedures. And this makes it more likely that this would be accepted by international courts as well. And this is particularly important where you have entities that have got assets that are located outside of the UAE, so that these assets cannot be attacked by creditors in those jurisdictions. This is a process that needs to play out, and I think that is why the first round of restructuring for Dubai World was done on a consensual basis. But subsequent to that, there's been other interested parties that have acquired some of this Dubai World debt, and Decree 57 protects the entities. Creditors cannot attack the assets of those entities while Decree 57 is in process.
ما هي الخيارات المتاحة أمام الدائنين الذين لم يوقعوا حتى الآن على الاتفاقية؟
Well, I guess they can still sign. They can still agree to it. There's a 120-day period now that they can still sign up to it. The threshold has been breached. in terms of the 66%. The tribunal that will be looking at this, they have got commitments from those creditors. And it's important to note that the only creditors that can vote on decree under this tribunal are creditors that are actually exposed. So they could potentially be losing money. If you're going to be fully repaid, you can't actually vote under this. I think that you will get some creditors, possibly, that try to approach the courts and delay this process. But my sense is that this will continue and this will proceed, and it is likely that this will be finalised by the target date, which is around about May 2015.
السيد دوغ بيتكن رئيس قسم الاستثمار في أدوات الدخل الثابت في شركة رأس مال للاستثمار، شكرا جزيلا لك.
شكرا.